about your leg training in detail?
Leg training, mostly I've started with leg extensions to pre-exhaust the quads and then go into the compound movements. When I started training, Tom Platz was the man, you know? Tom Platz, everyone was squatting in my gym. It was like, you know, the squat rack was where all the men went, you know? The leg press and all that stuff, the girls and the little boys. Everyone's got to do squats. If you don't do squats, you're not even a real man. You know, that was the attitude. So that's what I was brought up with. And you know, I got some okay leg development from squatting. I also got some injuries, tear on my hip and stuff like that. So I was forced to look into doing another way. And I dropped the squats. I did leg press. I did squats on the Smith machine. I did hack squats, and my leg development transformed. So for me, the squat was not a great quad exercise. You know, put a lot of stress on my glutes, my obliques got thicker, I got injured. So for me, it didn't work. For somebody with a different structure, maybe it's a good exercise. So you got to be, you know, don't be afraid to experiment. But the exercises that pretty much ended up with was doing leg extensions first to totally pre-exhaust the quads, then doing leg press afterwards, where you're bringing in the glutes and the hamstrings, and finish up with hack squats or squats on the Smith machine. And then for hamstrings, I was doing lying leg curl, stiff leg deadlift, and calves, standing calf raise, and seated calf raise.
Would you vary your foot position? Would you do your leg presses?
I was mainly with a medium stance, but I did do occasionally some sets with a real wide stance, so I work the adductors. And I do that with some people I train. If I watch people on the leg press when they do leg press, and the knees start going in like that when it gets really hard, that shows me that their outer quads are much stronger than inside. So I have them then do an extra set where they come out real wide with the feet out, so they're working the enterprise so that it gets balanced. But they grow really quick once you start hitting them. So after a month or two, generally I put my clients back on just doing a regular stance. It's important that you know, everybody's structure is a little bit different. If I walk, my feet turn out, because that's the way they are, right? So when I do leg presses, I just let them sit like that. I don't try to force my body into positions that's not comfortable with. The same thing with calf raises. People say you should do some sets with your toes in, sets with your toes out. It's pretty much bullshit. The muscle's just going to fire, and I think you should have the stance that feels comfortable for your body.
How about when you do the leg presses with the squat? Would you come all the way up, or would you come like a 3/4?
I pretty much, what I would do with squats and leg presses, I would just go very short with the lockout until I'm almost reaching failure. And then I would lock out and I'd take a couple of deep breaths to get another rep, and I would squeeze out a few more reps like that.
So the only time you would stop is when you were really fatigued?
When I was getting towards failure, yeah, just so I could get more reps out at the end. There's no tension at the top, so it's just a rest place really.
You have a favorite muscle that you train?
Sorry?
What's your favorite train back, right?
Yeah. They answer the question for me, back or legs. I just like stuff that's heavy and it's taxing. I do everything that I've got to do, but doing some dumbbell curls or laterals is not as challenging or exciting as doing heavy rows or leg press. You know, I had a love-hate thing with legs because it was a real challenge, so I loved that, but I knew it's going to hurt and I'm going to feel sick. So I do like, you get nervous when you came to the gym, you know, on leg days, but it only happens once a week, so pain's only temporary, that's what I used to say.
Any exercise that gave you good results that you hated doing?
Sorry?
Is there any exercise that gave you good results that you just hated doing?
No, if it gave me good results, I'd love it. So.
What do you do for calves?
Right now? I didn't do any special exercises. I did standing calf raise and I did seated calf raise. But it's all about how you're doing it, right? I used to do it extreme motion, all the way down, all the way right up on my toes, very controlled, no bounce. You see people doing this. What's this doing? I'm not doing it, just bouncing up and down. So I do full extreme range of motion. If you look at a ballet dancer, they spend a lot of time right up on their toes. They go through class, they never do weight training. So I do full range of movement, standing calf raise, is working the gastrocnemius here, which is the main calf muscle. And then when you got your legs bent 45, you're working the soleus, which lies underneath. So you need to do both of those exercises. One with your legs straight, whether it's a standing calf raise, donkey calf raise, on a leg press machine, it doesn't matter. I prefer the standing calf raise. And I would do reps 10 to 12. I'll do one set to warm up probably, and one set to failure. And sometimes I would do rest pause. So I'd go like 10 to 12 reps to failure. This guy trained with me yesterday, so he knows what I'm talking about. That's why he's not walking so good. So we do a set to failure. Get off the machine, walk on maybe 10 seconds, get back on again, go to failure. Maybe 4 or 5 reps this time. Get off, walk around again, get back on, maybe 2 or 3 reps this time, even finishing with a couple of half reps, totally destroy them on one set, intensive. Well, you don't ever want to be comfortable doing it, otherwise you get nothing out of it. You need a weight that is the absolute maximum, and you're going to total failure at 10 to 12 reps. Mike Mentzer used to use this analogy. What's total failure? It just depends on your level of motivation. People that train with me, they're like, I'm finished, I can't do any more. I'm like, bullshit. You got 3 more left. And because I'm telling them I'm Mr. Olympia, it's a bit intimidating, they do the 3 reps. So it was there. And Mike Mentzer used to use the thing, it's like, imagine you're in the gym and you're doing your exercise, whether it is calf raises, curls, and you've got to absolute failure. Do you think if some real shady guy came up to you and put a gun to your head, or put a gun to your child's head and said, do 2 more, you think you'd be able to do it or not? It's just, of course you would, because you're motivated. So it's just a matter of motivation. And that's the thing I was telling the guy earlier on. When you come to the gym, you've got to know why you're there, and you've got to have that motivation. Otherwise, when it gets very painful and it gets very difficult, it's human nature to say, screw that, you know? You'll even lie to yourself in your head. I can't do anything. Yeah, but sometimes you can, you know? So you've got to know what your goal is, and are you willing to do the necessary work to achieve that goal or not? You know, you've got to be honest with yourself. Any more questions, guys?
Dorian. Your latest article.
This is Robbie Durant from MD. He's the guy that was late.
In your latest article in MD, you had talked about how you thought you did high volume. You would have had a great physique, but you've never been taken to the Olympic caliber with the HIIT training. For those guys that are following high volume, what would you tell those guys?
Well, they're going to get a lot more out of training efficiently. I'm not saying that regular conventional bodybuilding training, 4 sets of this, 5 sets of that, is a total waste of time. I'm just saying it's not the most efficient way to train. And if you trained more intensely and less volume and had more rest, you would get better results in a shorter period of time. That's basically it in a nutshell. I think in the article I said, if I trained in the conventional way, I would have a great physique because I'm genetically suited to bodybuilding, but I don't think I would have been Mr. Olympia, and I definitely wouldn't have set the new standards. That's how I set new standards, by having a different approach to training. Before I came along and won Mr. Olympia, everybody was training 6 days a week, everybody parked twice a week, so I think definitely it had an effect on the way everybody trains. Not everybody trains like me, but in general, every bodybuilder, professional down, has reduced the volume and the number of days they're in the gym and the amount of sets and everything from what was being done previously in the 1980s and the 70s and stuff like that. And the level of physique has improved as well. So the proof is there.
Do you believe in doing your first cardio session before breakfast or after?
If I was getting ready for a contest, yeah, I'd do it in the morning on empty stomach. Does it make a huge difference? Probably not, but right here on the side of research points that you may burn more fat if you exercise on an empty stomach, and that's what I'm after, so that's why I did it.
How essential would you say like a good training partner is? I've seen like some of your workouts that I can't recall the guy's name, but like you guys had a pretty intense workout.
Yeah, my training partner from the DVD became famous. Everyone asked about it. Leroy's his name. Leroy. Yeah. Well, for me, it's very important. I never trained without a training partner because it's just, for my kind of training where I'm trained to failure, it's impractical. Because how can you go to true failure with a 1,500-pound leg press? You're not going to go to true failure because you're always going to have this thought in your mind, I don't want to get stuck at the bottom of the leg press for 1,500 pounds on there. Yeah, so I better put that weight back 1 or 2 reps shy of that, you know? So you're never going to have the confidence to go to real failure. Same thing if I'm doing incline press. How can you go to failure with incline press if you haven't got a spotter? Because if you go to failure, that's failure. Where are you going to go from there? That's the only way to go, right? And that's dangerous. So you need a good spotter. If you haven't got a good training partner, at least you need somebody in the gym that's able to spot you. And that's almost an art in itself. Being able to spot somebody and give them the right amount of assistance so they can just about finish the rep, but not so little that they just get stuck in a static rep and then sets over anyway. So I prefer to train with somebody, the same person all the time, for as long as they can handle it anyway, before they've got burnt out and disappeared and went to somebody else. You know? But I prefer to train because they know, you know, you learn just enough to complete the rep and so on. So I always like to train with a training partner. It would be, you know, I could only go to failure or near to failure if I didn't have a training partner, just for practical safety reasons.
As far as splitting up your body parts, what was your most productive split, and would it change, and did it change within your career?
You know, it doesn't really matter how you split your body parts up, because there's always going to be some overlap. So, you know, you do your best, there will be some overlap. I did various splits, various lengths of rest in between the workouts and everything over the years, but I pretty much settled into doing chest and biceps and legs, which would include hamstrings and calves as well. You know, for me that works. If you've got weak calves, it wouldn't make sense to do calves after you've done quads and hamstrings because you're mentally and physically pretty exhausted. But calves are always a strong body part for me, so I just did them at the end, and if I was tired, it didn't matter. I would do shoulders, traps and triceps, and then I did back alone as well. So I did a 4-way split. I had it running every 6 days. So it was 2 days in the gym, 1 day off, 2 days in the gym, 1 day off. And if I felt during that cycle I needed an extra day off, I would definitely take it. And I'm somebody with a very strong disposition, so it's good metabolism, and you know, let's be honest, when I was competing I was using anabolics, hormones, that helps your recoverability. So if I need at least 6 days to recover, the average person will probably need 8 or 9 days. But people tend to do things on a weekly basis just because that's the way the world works, the working week and all that stuff. But your body doesn't function on a weekly basis. So if you need more time to recover, then you should take more time and to maybe train every other day or whatever it takes. You know?
How about
You weren't doing anything special to get that graininess that you were known for.
The grainy look is just a new term that was never around. I don't know who made that up, but it's a combination of muscle density and being very, very lean and being, actually I went into a contest a little bit flat. You know, if you go in the gym and you pump your biceps or your chest up and you have a look in the mirror, it's going to be bigger, yeah, because you've got the blood volume in there. But you're going to lose a lot of that separation just because the volume's in there. So that's one of the gripes I've got about modern the pros now in competition. I can go to a world amateur bodybuilding competition and I can see a ton of guys that are in much better condition than the professionals. Because the guys now, they're more concerned with coming in big and full of glycogen and all pumped up. I didn't attempt to do that. I came in actually a little bit flat. So it's a combination of very dense muscle tissue, because I train heavy day in, day out for year after year after year. That gives you dense muscle tissue. That's not bloated muscle tissue that's blown up like a balloon with fluid and glycogen. It looks different, especially in person. A lot of people say to me in pictures, I don't come across in person, I look different. That's because of that quality of the muscle. Years of heavy training, low body fat, and not, I didn't have the muscles totally full. I was still a little bit depleted and dehydrated for the contest. So it's a combination of those things.
You start working with Cormier again?
Sorry?
So you start working with Cormier again once you start structuring for the show?
Chris Cormier is a friend of mine, and my assistance getting ready for a contest has always been open to him. It's just whether Chris decides to take me up on that. You know? But he's a guy with potential, and it's a shame to see somebody with potential that they don't make the most of it. I mean, he has Dexter Jackson's Mr. Olympia now, and all respect to him because he's done the work. He's paid his dues, he's done the work over the years. But Chris is, you know, Chris has way more potential than that, and he's never maximised it. So the door's open, it's only whether Chris wants to walk through it or not.
How did you work the abdominal muscles?
I actually did very little abdominal work because I did a lot when I was younger, when I was an amateur. I even did like weighted ab work and everything like that. And my obliques have a tendency to get bigger. You know, some people say, oh, Yates had a wide waist, wide hips. Actually, my hips are really narrow for my frame. That's why I got injured squatting. But my obliques do have a tendency to grow really quickly. That's why, you know, one of the advantages that I had when I stopped squatting, putting less stress on that area. And pretty much it came down to me just doing crunches and reverse crunches, getting ready for a contest. But as I said, I already had good abdominal development. I did a lot when I was an amateur. And just all the static stuff you do with triceps and working out, it was enough to maintain. So I actually did very little abdominal work. If you look at pictures of me when I started bodybuilding, you know, I've got abs, I've got intercostals already developed from nothing. They're just doing little karate and stuff as a kid. So it's somewhat genetic.
Any comments on flexibility before and after training?
Sorry?
Any comments on flexibility before and after training?
I do some, I always done stretching before training, maintain pretty good flexibility, and also a stickler for doing the exercise through a full range of movement, which is, I see a lot of people in the States, they do, you know, bench presses like this, overhead presses like this. I always made a, you know, full range of movement. If you're going to make a practice of doing short movements, I think the muscle eventually is going to get tighter and smaller. So I do, you know, basically stretching when I train. When I do that pull down, I'm stretching and going full range and going right back. So I'm stretching when I'm training, and also before I train, I usually do about 10 minutes stretching, sometimes in between the sets as well. So,
What after?
Afterwards, I just usually want to get out of the gym. It's probably a good idea afterwards, but I just want to get out of there.
Having had lumps of different before, besides nutrition?
The difference with this is my company. I'm the president, and I got control over every aspect, you know, where before I didn't. So, you know, everything as far as the products, what's in the products, how it's packaged, how it's presented and everything, they're all my decisions. And before that wasn't the case, so I wasn't totally happy. I like, you know, this company is going to be under my control, and it's going to be in GNC within the next month, GNC and bodybuilding.com, so you're going to see it around. We got time for like 2 more questions, guys, and then I'm going to wrap it up and do about pictures and boards, graphs and all that stuff.
What exactly supplements are you putting out?
The range is starting with 4 supplements, and then we'll add to it as we go along. We've got a protein, which is a combination of proteins. So we've got the whey proteins, micellar casein. So you've got fast and slow proteins in there, which is you know, is the best combination. And it's all cold processed as well. So they're cold processed proteins, they're not heat damaged, which many of the proteins that are used in supplements are. Then there's a gainer, which is the same protein combination with complex carbohydrates. You're not using simple carbs, you're not using maltodextrin, which a lot of companies use. And the pre-workout formula, which is called Nuts Pump, which is already, it's like almost cult status in Europe. You know, it's like by far the most powerful pre-workout kind of stimulant, blood flow product that you can take, and a fat burner as well, which is very, very effective. So everything that comes out is under my personal supervision, and I'm not going to bring anything out unless I think in this particular category there's nothing better. This is the best in this category. So far I'm in 4 categories, and we're looking at other products, maybe like the hormonal products further along the line and a post-workout. But I'm not just bringing out 20 products just to make a quick buck. That's not really my style. I want to bring out products that are effective, most as effective as they can be in that category.
What's the price range?
It's going to be on par with other top brands.
Are you going to have any protein powders for vegans? Are you going to have any protein powders for vegans?
For vegans? Yeah, I don't know. What's the difference between
Do you
vegetarian?
have any, there's no dairy, there's no whey?
No, we got whey product. My friend's a vegetarian, and actually he's been using only the protein and vegetables and carbohydrates. And the guy's like 260s in the best shape he's ever been in. But to make a protein powder with no dairy products, no eggs, it's very limited. It's going to be a lower quality protein. You're going to have to use soy protein, which is not the best quality.